I cannot believe I found gold here. I'm going to write my name in Morse code and let's see how it sounds. We have unfortunately not made utilization of it, and but it's a Sunday. It's Sunday, no? It's a Sunday, and we are headed to some place beautiful. And come tag along with us in this journey while I struggle to get things in place. We have rented a car here because our credit score is still in making. In California and rest of the states in the US, your insurance amount will be much higher if you are not on a US license. So that's why we ended up paying somewhere around $700 for 10 days. It is damn expensive here in California. Just scooched in a couple of minutes with my mom on video call here before we start our trip. If you're road tripping in California, having a car is must. It's pretty essential because apart from San Francisco and probably some big cities, or maybe only San Francisco, there are not much public transport options available. So having a car is the best thing that you can do in the US with respect to money and convenience per se. And if you're planning on Uber, you can take it, but while returning, I'm not sure if you'll find there because it is quite isolated area in Santa Cruz where we were traveling to. I'm so glad to see these trees after leaving San Jose and towards Santa Cruz, California. This is the first experience in California driving on the mountains, and we were a little hesitant about it, but I think we are doing well. The road conditions are fantastic. The towering trees are really making me happy. The trees are so tall. The camera literally is doing no justice to the beauty of these trees and this jungle here. We reached Roaring Camp, and it's $10 for parking. You can pay by cash or card, and we need to put this in our dashboard here. Welcome to California, the land of dreams, drama, and trees so tall that they make your Wi-Fi signal feel insecure. Let's rewind to 1848 when James Marshall found gold at Sutter's Mill and basically ruined everyone's chill. Within a year, 300,000 people showed up with their axes, zero survival skills, and dreams of striking it rich. It was Coachella, but with more beards and fewer wristbands. The California gold rush turned sleepy towns into booming cities overnight. San Francisco went from meh to mega faster than you can say, I regret selling my Bitcoin. And yes, people did find gold, but most ended up with back pain, broken dreams, and a newfound appreciation for indoor plumbing. And now when we talk about redwoods, California's original skyscrapers. These trees are so tall that they could host their own cloud storage. Some are over 300 feet high and 2,000-year-old, which means that they were already ancient when Julius Caesar was still figuring out how to wear a toga. The American indigenous tribes saw redwoods as sacred beings. Loggers saw them as really big lumber, and conservationists saw them and said, "Whoa, maybe don't cut them down." Thankfully, we now protect these gentle giants, and so you can walk among them without hearing the buzz of chainsaws or the distant sound of regret. And now, the Redwood Forest Steam Train, a glorious hissing, puffing time machine that takes you from Roaring Camp to the top of Bear Mountain. These steam engines are from the 1880s, which means that they are older than your grandmother's cookie tin recipe and twice as loud. These were originally used to haul redwood logs, but today they haul tourists, toddlers, and train nerds who know the difference between a Shay and a Whistler and will tell you whether you ask or not. The ride lasts for 75 minutes, and I'll mention how to book this ticket in the description box below, and which is just enough time to contemplate life, nature, and whether you've packed enough snacks or not. And oh, by the way, snacks are allowed on the train, which I didn't know. Carry water bottles, snacks. You will get food here, you can purchase it, but it's always better to have something handy. So yeah, here you have it. Gold that made people greedy, trees that make you feel tiny, and trains that make you feel like a cowboy with a camera. Welcome to Roaring Camp, where history roars, whistles blow, and squirrels silently judge your outfit. We sat at the end of the train thinking that we'll get shade. This is the beginning of September and it was 32 degrees already at 10 a.m. It was hot, it was really hot and very dry. And as soon as the train started, I regretted sitting here because it was the same view from the window that we could see from a car. I wanted to have an open air experience for the train and I was sulking big time. But something worked out for me and let me tell you what. But let's enjoy the first half of this journey. The first 30-40 minutes of the ride. Years to 2000 year old, and it was really surprising and we felt really surreal to see such old redwoods around us.
If it was really hot, they would burn, but it's hard to get those things lit on fire since the branches are up so high.
The conductor here blocked all my views for vertical shots and horizontal shots, but like I said, something worked out for me after the first half, and let me tell you in a while. But coming to the main point, the conductor here was telling us a lot of historical facts and how this park and everything came around to be. The California Gold Rush began in 1848 when James Marshall found gold at Sutter's Mill. Word spread like wildfire, and by 1849 over 300,000 people had flooded into California and had nicknamed it 49ers. California's population exploded, transforming sleepy outposts into booming towns. San Francisco grew from a village of 1,000 to a bustling city of 25,000 people in just 2 years. The gold rush accelerated California's path to statehood in 1850. Diverse groups arriving, including Chinese miners who founded towns like Chinese Camp, are now historical camp landmarks. The rush also led to environmental degradation and displacement of indigenous people. The coast redwood is the tallest tree species on earth, some reaching over 300 feet and living over 2000 years. Here we had a stop for 10 to 15 minutes. You could click pictures with the train, locomotive and the engine master here. And this is where you also have a washroom, restroom stop here. Just 10 minutes. And like I said, something worked out for me. We found an empty space in the coach where we sat at the last minute, ensuring that people who were sitting here originally were not returning to the same seats. And our neighbors told us that they went in the bogie that you see in the screen. They sat there, thankfully. Kunal and I enjoyed the open air redwood trees and the train experience, and it was fun. Tribes like Yurok, Hupa, Karuk lived in harmony with the redwoods, using fallen planks to build homes considered sacred spirit beings. The gold rush brought settlers who began logging redwoods for construction, and by early 1900s, 90% of the old growth redwoods were being logged and sold off. The Save the Redwood League was founded in 1918, thankfully, to protect remaining groves. And this is why in 1880s a narrow gauge steam trains were used to haul massive redwood logs out of Santa Cruz mountains. And Roaring Camp operates authentic steam engines from 1890s, including the Shea, Whistler and Climax models, designed specifically for steep grades and tight curves. Let me know in the comments what you would have ordered if you were here. This is in Santa Cruz beside Henry Cowell Park, and if you have more time and energy, like how we had earlier planned, if the sun had not drained out the energy from us, we were also going to go to Henry Cowell Park, which is right beside this area. So stay tuned for my next vlog whenever we plan to visit Henry Cowell Park. You guys can have. We had some food here and the fries were great. The chili fries came with meat somehow, which is confusing me, but I think this is how it is here. And the bagel and pretzels were okay. I am glad that we had already gotten our sandwiches packed from home, but we still ate here, tried exploring the food outside. And I tried Italian soda ras cherry flavor, and according to Kunal, it tasted like Benadryl. There was a blacksmith here. He had things on sale that you can see here, and apart from that, he was explaining a lot of science and physics behind constructing and making things from iron, steel, coal, carbon dioxide, just name it, and he was explaining everything.
Very cold. So that's why we have this quench bucket, so I don't burn myself if I need to touch it with my hands. But you can see a lot clearer there. That's where all the carbon was ejected from. See that?
He's going to get some coal for the furnace, and that's what he was explaining, that the bigger stones, bigger coals carry much more heat compared to the smaller ones, which turn porous, and it's just trash and no heat and pollution for everyone around.
It turns into this thing called slag. Now slag is just basically coal, cheap coal that is burned together.
My next stop was a telegram box, which was right beside the blacksmith shop, and this is where people used to send telegrams with Morse code. The entire history was pasted here, the founder of Morse code and the details. It was really fascinating and amazing to learn so much. I'm going to write my name in Morse code and let's see how it sounds. So that's PAR, and I think that's enough as of now. And it was fun. I've never used Morse code. It's a fun activity to do here. That's P. And this is how the print shop in the early 1800s was. They had all the original plates, the books, the instructions, maintained and retained and restored of how things worked in the previous century. There was a history of train robbery, and during events like Great Train Robbery, actors dressed as outlaws and marshals staged dramatic encounters, and this was just a recreation of the marshal's office. Then this was the general store where you can shop for souvenirs, snacks and activity tickets. Think of it as 1880s version of convenience store minus the energy drinks, of course. You can pick up a kids club passbook, redeem prizes, grab essentials like train whistles, sheriff badges and treats. You can also use this as escape from the scorching heat of August and September. There are these old-timer machines. You can see how great your love is. And then next to the gold panning, the most interesting activity that I was excited for, of hunting and searching for gold. The old lady here will teach you how to search for it and what are the steps for it. Basically an immersive experience of how the 1880s town was. And usually this is there on the weekends only, and I was here on a Sunday. Plus some candle if you want to take yourself a souvenir back home which you have made it. These guys, they accept card and cash both.
Yes. What do you say? You gotta say Eureka!
Oh, what do I say?
Eureka!
I'm Rika.
Eureka!
Yeah. Eureka. Oh, sorry.
Eureka! Eureka! Drying your finger off first helps. Stab it. There you go. And then you're gonna go like that. Hold it over the pan in case it falls.
Yes, I'll put one inside. And don't worry if you don't find a gold, they give you another box of dirt from which it's guaranteed that you find some gold. And this is me finally finding my gold and packing it to take home as a brilliant souvenir of those tiny specks of gold. I found 2 of them and I packed it and took it home with me. Super excited. Everything's pretty close by, at a distance of 10 seconds each, that's it. And it really feels like a small town or village in itself. This was the last store that I saw here, which sells popcorn, ice cream, some food as well. There is one more barbecue restaurant towards the fag end beside the toilet, which we didn't get a chance to explore, but there are a lot of options. And this is us escaping from the heat and going back home. Let me know your favorite activity in the comments and follow me for more such activities.